Where's the incongruity in that clip? Cooper?
Mark is Black Jeopardy.
Yes, exactly. So Mark showing up there at all is an incongruity, right? So then what's the incongruous juxtaposition then? What's the difference between those two? Because Mark being where he doesn't seem to belong, that's one. Yeah, Tate?
Maybe like white culture versus black culture.
Yeah, the incongruous juxtaposition is like Mark versus the other two contestants, right? This idea of like Mark representing one side of culture and I forgot their Amir and I don't remember the other girl's name.
I don't want to try to.
Keely, yeah, I think that's right. Amir and Keely, like their side of like the cultural divide, right? So that creates this incongruous juxtaposition. And it's not about them not. Incongruity is about him being in a place that we don't expect him. The juxtaposition is about people interacting or two things interacting that we don't expect to interact. Okay, where did you see exaggeration? Hopefully all over the place in that clip. Yeah, I think just the way that they're putting it on is an exaggeration, totally, yeah. Where else do you see exaggeration? Sam?
They're exaggerating the stereotypes, pretty much trying to onto their own personality.
Yes, absolutely. Stereotypes of like the white professor from BYU, but also stereotypes of Black contestants, right? So we'll get to this in a second. We need to decide if this clip is using race in like a responsible way to comment on culture. But basically this like heightened stereotype of what it means to be Black, like the, you know, haunted, what is it? The haunted bureau or whatever, yeah, the briefcase thing. That would be a stereotype that Black people are more suspicious. There's the stereotype that Black people don't have any money, right? Like it's all over the place, and all of that is exaggeration. Is there any hyperbole in the clip? I said that and with a kind of leading question. I don't think there is. I think all of it has, I think that's the reason that stereotypes can be so effective, but also so harmful, is because they always have some sort of foothold in reality, right? Some sort of reason that that stereotype exists. And so I don't think that we would call any of this hyperbole, because hyperbole, yeah, I guess that is a kind of hyperbole that they can like guess what he feel like that the cultural understanding is like so strong that people can just guess what they're thinking. Yeah, I think we could call that hyperbole even. Yeah. Okay, what other techniques did you see? Did you see any? Well, let's talk about parody. Where's the parody?
Well, parody of Jeopardy.
It's just yeah, exactly. Luke, is that what you're gonna say? Yeah, it's a parody of Jeopardy, right? How about situational irony? I think that's what this clip depends on. What's the situational irony here? A situation that you would not expect, that it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Cooper?
Well, first, Black Jeopardy existing is almost a situational irony.
Mhm.
Jeopardy already existed, and then you put a white guy in Black Jeopardy.
Yes, okay, good. So you're saying that the incongruity itself is a kind of situational irony. Yeah, I think that's right. I think also that BYU would have a Black Studies professor as a situational irony. I think that's what it's dependent on. That they would, yeah, actually, yeah, maybe you should. African American Studies professor BYU. Because I would say when I was there, I didn't, like in the whole film department, in the whole English department, there was not a person of color that was teaching.
There's African.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, I will say that most universities struggle on this. University of Utah just recently, like in the last 5 years, hired their first African American Studies professor. So I'm not saying that BYU is like unique in that front, but there's a reason that they chose BYU for the joke, right? It seems like the least likely place.
Football team.
Hmm?
Color. The football team is pasty white as well.
BYU?
Yeah.
Oh.
It used to be though.
I don't really.
Well, that was one person.
The only things I can find on Reddit are.
Oh, okay. It won't let you connect to that in here. Okay, so yeah, that's a kind of situational irony then, right? You choose like the whitest campus that you can think of that's still well known. Like they can say a campus that like people wouldn't know, but BYU has a lot of clout and a lot of, it's a good reputation, right? So you choose the whitest college you can find and say that this is where the guy is that studies African American studies. So you're just like, that's the opposite of what you'd expect. That situational irony. I don't necessarily see verbal irony in this. Did you? Because I might have missed it. Okay. Were there any that I missed that you saw? Any strategies? Okay, I think that was a good review then of the different strategies that we can see in satire. So what I want to ask then is, actually I'm going to have you do this. Write down what the literal argument is of that sketch. So literally, what are they arguing on the surface of this satire? You can just write it as a sentence. Literally, what are they arguing? And you guys, Isaac and Eli, you guys can write this in the chat box. Get out at 12:15, same as normal. Okay, once you have a literal argument written down, I think that one of the reasons that this piece of satire works really well is that there are a lot of under the surface type of arguments, little critiques that are being made. There are critiques being made when he says, you know, this is what we have. What does he say? What we've got is what we've got. I think there's a critique going on right there. I think there's a critique that Mark has such unearned confidence when he enters into that room. I think that there's a critique in the way that it's using stereotypes. So I think that there is not one answer for this, but write down one critique that you think that this clip is making of the world. And I do think this is Horatian. I think this is making fun of all of us, not just one group. It might be Juvenalian towards BYU, but I'm just kidding, it's not. Yeah, Eli, I think that's right. Now find the underlying critique of that. Maybe about the way that cultures understand each other. Okay, and then I just want you to explain this idea to the person next to you because we need to move on to the next one. So explain what you think one critique is happening, what a critique is in this. Okay, Eli and Isaac, we're gonna watch the second clip now. So it's the second, I think it's the Black Jeopardy with Tom Hanks now. Yes, I think this, yes, Isaac, I do think the stereotype is part of the critique, right? It's critiquing the stereotypes. And I think, yes, Eli, I think they're making fun of people who like have this academic understanding of things. Like I honestly think that they're making fun of me, like I am Mark, because here I am like a white lady trying to teach, you know, civil rights movement to a classroom that's mostly full of white kids. I think that's like Mark's position, right? Him thinking that he could possibly understand what the Black experience is. Okay, so I think one of the reasons that clip uses exaggeration so much, which you could argue is potentially offensive, right? Because Black wants to be stereotypes and saying like, this is what Black people are like, isn't that funny? This is what white people are like, isn't that funny? But clearly Black people are, you know, more fun, you know? Like I think that there is that kind of stereotype in this that you could potentially say like, that's an irresponsible representation of race, right? But I think the underlying critique here, I think the one that works the best is Mark coming on and saying like, I study this stuff. I mean, I think I was just telling the guys on Zoom, like I think it's making fun of me. Like I study this stuff, I've read a lot, so I can just come up here in front front of everyone and teach about the civil rights movement, right? I can teach about Ta-Nehisi Coates just as well as anybody else. And so I think it's making fun of that like academic mindset that like you could understand anything without living the experience. So let's watch one that I think takes that to a new level. I think that this one is one of the best ones that they've done.
It's the opposite side of the light spectrum.
Yeah. So you're gonna do, you don't actually need to take notes on this one. I just want you to watch it.
Black Jeopardy.
What up? What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Black Jeopardy, the only TV game show where the audience is in church clothes. I'm your host, Donnell Hayes. Our contestants are Keely.
Hey.
Shanice.
Okay, now.
And Doug.
How are you doing, sir?
Oh. Hey. Doug, you should be ready to play Black Jeopardy?
They told me a fella can win some money, so let's win me some money. Get her done.
I admire your confidence. Let's see our categories. We got big girls. I don't know. You better. I'm gonna pray on this. They out here saying, there's always white people. Okay, Keely, you're our returning champ. You pick.
Okay, let's do You Better for 200.
Okay, the answer there. You need hot sauce, duck sauce, soy sauce, and safety pins. Keely.
What is You Better Take Your Ass to the kitchen and look in the packet drawer?
Yeah. And the package drawer. Yeah, every kitchen's got one, you know.
Okay, let's stay with You Better for 400.
Okay, the answer. Your job wants to take $40 a month out of your check for a 401k. Shanice.
What is, you better give me that money so I can buy me some scratch-offs?
Yeah, you better run. I mean, why do I need a retirement plan when I got Monopoly Millionaires Club?
And I play that every week.
Yeah, well, that's good for you. The board is yours, Shanice.
Let's go with Davey. They're out there saying for 200.
Okay, the answer. They out here saying the new iPhone wants your thumbprint for your protection. Oh, okay, then, Doug.
What is, I don't think so. That's how they get you.
Yes!
What's that?
Oh, I read that goes straight to the government. Well, let's go over to, I don't know, for 4.
Okay, the answer there. He says his dog doesn't bite. Shanice.
What is, I don't know, he got teeth, don't he?
Yeah, that's it. Teeth.
Let's stick with, I don't know, for 6.
Okay. Caitlyn Jenner says she belongs on the cover of Essence magazine. Keely.
What is, I don't know, you can't do everything.
Yeah, that's right. It was the time.
Absolutely.
Well,
Right?
yeah, I remember that.
Okay. Let's go to They Out Here Saying for 8.
Okay, the answer there. They out here saying that every vote counts. Oh, Doug again.
What is, come on, they already decided who wins in the Ford hat.
Yes! Yes!
We're doing it. Let's try, they out here saying for 6.
Okay. They out here saying this movie doesn't deserve an Oscar. Keely.
What is Tyler Perry's Boo a Madea Halloween?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when that man puts on a moo-moo, I'm just transported.
You know, I got to tell you, I love those movies. I bought the box set at Walmart, and if I can laugh and pray in 90 minutes, that is money well spent.
I really appreciate it. Okay. Keely, it's your pick.
Let's go to You Better for 6.
Okay, the answer. The mechanic says you owe $250 for new brake lines. Doug.
Well, what is, you better go to that dude in my neighborhood who fix anything for $40.
Why, you don't see some?
Yeah, well, my sister's name is Jim, and it fixes my refrigerator, my air conditioner, and my cat.
Yeah, everybody's got a guy. All right, Doug. Let's take a moment and hear about today's prizes. Johnny?
Thanks, Darnell. Today's Black Jeopardy winner will receive the good chair. Granddaddy needs somewhere to sit. Give him the good chair. And card tip, the best tape for fixing your car. Back to you, Darnell.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but the board is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Darnell. You people are fun. Can I say that? Is that okay? Can I say that?
We'll give you a pass this time.
Okay, let's go to big girls for 200.
Okay, the answer there, skinny women can do this for you. Yeah.
What is not a damn thing? She's a sturdy gal.
Here's her man right here. Don't do that. Don't do that. The sound of the broom hitting the ceiling below us means that the party has stopped. I have to say, it has been a pleasure.
Well, you're right back at you, my brother.
All right, well, let's take a look at our final Jeopardy category. Lives that matter. Well, good one, after done.
I know I got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So we got to play the national anthem and just see what the hell happens.
All right. Okay, so I want you, let's do this again with the person next to you. I want you to talk about what you think the underlying critique is this time, because the overt critique is kind of stays the same in some ways, but it's the underlying criticism that I think changes. So discuss with the people around you, just your normal group. What's the critique? All right. All right, let's talk this through. What do you think is the underlying critique happening in this one? If the first one was about how people can't understand each other when they approach things with a kind of like academic mindset, they're not going to understand each other culturally, then what is the underlying critique in this one? Sam?
I think it's that we have a lot more similarities than people think.
Okay.
And not that they said this, but I think it's also, maybe it's not your skin color that determines, but where you grew up.
Yes.
Because it obviously sounds like both of them grew up in like a smaller urban area, and that's why they have that guy. They have all these similarities.
Yeah, there's a class issue here, right? So it's saying that like the discrimination and the stereotypes all tied up with race maybe might apply in this clip at least more fully to class differences, right? Like where you grow up maybe, or just like even Doug, I don't picture Doug being in like an urban area. I just picture Doug. Yeah, I feel like Doug makes those same sort of same socioeconomic status potentially, and this is what causes their commonalities. I do think that that's an underlying critique here, right? No one ever says it out loud, but yeah. So
I guarantee you grew up in like a suburb, you know, like Daybreak.
yeah, Mark went to Timpanogos High School. He grew up 42060 1730 North. Like that's my house. He's like in a sort of like suburban like privileged setting and doesn't understand. Nathan?
I think it's making a joke or like a critique on how sometimes in that case white people pretend to know what's going on because he like the amount of times Doug said like, oh yeah, I've seen that movie, or oh yeah, I buy scratch off tickets too. I think it's making a joke on how he's just trying to fit in.
Oh, okay.
It's a genuine like characteristic of a lot of
Okay, so human behavior then, human nature I should say, leans towards us trying to get along then, trying to fit in with groups and to find commonalities. So it's not just that we have a lot in common, it's that we have a desire to find what we have in common. So in that way, this second clip with Doug then is far more optimistic than, would you say, than the first clip with Mark? Okay, I want to go back to this though, because how does the clip end? With the lives that matter joke, right? And it's like, it's been real while it lasted, or it's been good while it lasted, Doug. And Doug says, I have a lot of thoughts about this. And they're just like, no. So what do you think then, where does it lie if we had to say what the argument is on that spectrum? Because it seems like it is saying that there are a lot of commonalities in terms of class, but I think that the end there undercuts that a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think the majority of it was class, but then they put in race with class. They mixed.
Yes. This is a clip about intersectionality. So it's about like the ways that, yeah, you can find something in common. Like the other thing is that Doug is the only male there, right? And then there's two females, but they can find a lot in common, right? But that there are still going to be these key differences between people, and that when one of these key differences is about whose life matters, it becomes like a dividing point, right? For the contestants. So I think like, there is that idea that where you grew up really kind of matters more, how you grew up matters more in terms of how we connect with people, but that you can't just ignore the major political differences that have divided you apart too. See what I mean when I say that when you like critique a joke, it gets not funny anymore? But I think that that's kind of the critique there. So what I want to do now, we have a half hour left. Yes, perfect. So I want us now to write a paragraph about satire. So the way that we do it is the same as all rhetorical analysis, but this time you have to identify both literal argument and underlying argument. So we're going to write about the Tom Hanks clip, the one that we just watched, and you are going to choose one technique that they use in that clip. So exaggeration, incongruous juxtaposition, incongruity, situational irony, whichever one you want to talk about. Is there a reversal in that? Sorry, one second. I'm just thinking if that counts as a reversal. It reverses our expectations. Yeah, I might call that a reversal, that Doug ends up being a pretty open-minded kind of person. Just because he wears the MAGA hat and we don't expect that. Yeah, Nathan?
Where are we writing this?
Oh, on that piece of paper that I gave you. Yeah, let's do this by hand. Okay, so you're choosing one technique that it uses, right? And then you're going to write your topic sentence. And what we need to keep practicing is topic sentences that contain the technique or the language choice or the strategy, however you want to think of it, plus the reason for that strategy, right? So this clip uses incongruous juxtaposition in order to convey this, or in order to reach the audience in this way. So write your topic sentence first. Choose your technique and write your topic sentence. I will do this with you. So I'm saying the sketch uses a reversal in order to both criticize Trump supporters, but also claim that they can be surprisingly open-minded in person. Sorry if you're a Trump supporter and that hurt your feelings, but I'm just going with what SNL is critiquing. I think we all know people like this that like metaphysically sort of like about their ideas of the world, they're very racist, but then you know that they are like, you know, friends with people individually that you're like, if you were this racist, how could you possibly maintain this friendship? You know, like, for example, my parents are pretty close-minded about like poverty in a lot of ways, and yet my dad has this guy who like lives in the canyon that he just thinks is the coolest guy and like hangs out with this homeless man all the time, and then he comes back and he's like, poor people won't work for anything, and I'm just like, what, how does this, how do both of these ideas exist? But he's like, but Al, that's my friend, so it's fine. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm saying here. All right, so once you've got a topic sentence, then you are going to introduce your kind of quotation. But since you're talking about a clip here, your quotation is going to be visual, right? So, so I'm going to say something like, in this episode of Black Jeopardy, you know, we see Tom Hanks's red MAGA hat and we assume, you know, the worst about him, but then he turns out to have lots in common with the people on stage. And like Nathan said, he's seeking for those things in common. So I'm just kind of introducing and wrapping up. That kind of worked both ways. I introduced the scenario, the example, and I also explained what it is. So you're explaining when this technique happens in the clip. So just to be clear, you guys at home, you can do this on a computer document, and then you'll just submit this to the class recording. I'll open it up for you after class, and you'll submit it that way. In fact, I'll open it up now. Okay, and then you've done a lot of these paragraphs by now, so you kind of know what to do. You are now going to explain how this particular technique creates the real argument, right? The real underlying sort of deeper argument to the satire, and why it was a good choice for the SNL audience. So you're just analyzing now this moment, this particular rhetorical choice, because satirical techniques are rhetorical choices. Why did they choose to use this technique? That's another way of looking at it. Yeah, I know I'm kind of rushing you, but I'm just going to give you 2 more minutes to finish up that paragraph because I want to move on to the next thing because it's fun. Isaac, yes, you're just writing a paragraph analyzing one satirical choice in that clip with Tom Hanks. So for example, I did reversal. You could do situational irony or incongruity. Okay, finish up your sentence. So the tricky thing about satire is that you have to kind of balance, again, what the literal argument is and the underlying argument. A lot of times, so I used to, on your schedules, actually, I planned to have you write an analysis about this next satire piece that you're going to be reading. I decided not to do that, yeah. Well, partly because I'm so far behind with grading too. I'm like, I cannot get, another essay graded. That's not fair. Anyway, so, I mean, to you. So the hard part is, though, people would write about it, and they would write a whole essay about how Jonathan Swift is arguing that we should eat babies. Like, that was their whole thing, and like, he's a cruel, horrible man. How could he make this argument, right? The trick, though, is that like, that's not what he's arguing. He's using that argument to make a different argument, right? So Black Jeopardy is not arguing that like Black people act this way. They are using those stereotypes to make an underlying argument, right? Or that MAGA people act this way or whatever. So in order to kind of help us see that, I want to do a little bit of practice in anticipation of what you're going to read for next time. So at the beginning of class, you're talking about problems at Harriman High School, right? I want you to get into a group, and I want you to decide which one you think is the problem that you guys want to solve as a group. So out of all the ones that you chose in your little group, which one do you think is going to be the one that you want to solve? Like, it could be this is the biggest problem, it could be this will be the funniest, whatever you want to do. Then I want you to, so you're choosing a problem, choose one problem. You're going to choose an audience. Now your audience should probably be one of these people, right? You either need to convince someone that it's a problem, in which case it would be this guy, or you need to say this is how we need to solve it, in which case it would be this guy, right? So whoever you think is going to be the most resistant to this, choose the audience. So you're choosing a problem, you're choosing the audience, and then your whole point is to suggest that this is a problem that needs to be solved. You are going to figure out a satirical way to solve the problem. Satirical solution. So in order to do that, you need to use the techniques that we've been learning about. How can you use reversal or incongruity or exaggeration or hyperbole to make this satirical solution? Now, again, the goal is that someone would read this satirical solution to a problem and say, ooh, yeah, actually, this is a problem we need to fix, before the students start rioting in this particular way or whatever. But you guys are going to do this as a group. And I don't need it to be well written. I know that's a weird thing for an English teacher to say, but basically you're just giving me some bullet points, like going through the list of the specifics of how you can make this satirical solution effective, right? And a big way to do that is with a lot of detail. So give as much detail as you can in this bullet pointed list of a solution. I don't want the groups to be too small for this because it's better if they're bigger. So you two over here, Andrew and Sarah, you guys are alone in a group, right? And then, so Race and Aiden, you guys group up there. And then it's you four here, right? And you three. And then are you two? It's just you two?
I'm with Emma and
Yeah, I was like, we have three.
but we don't know how that happened.
I don't either. And you just have three?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll have you.
Where's
Oh, and Tiana, yeah.
yeah, there's Kansas.
Okay, then I'm gonna have you two pair up with this little weird group right here. These little weirdos.
Yeah.
Emma and Mallory. Okay, and then then everybody else has at least three, right? Okay. All right, so you're writing this on the piece of paper. Everyone write it on their own piece of paper, so just I have it. And we'll do this for the last 15 minutes of class. Okay, go ahead. So for you guys at home, you came up with a problem at the beginning of class. I don't know if you heard me, but for the writing prompt, I had you think of a problem that Harriman High School has. And just in that the same document where you were writing the paragraph, I want you to try and come up with a satirical solution. So for example, one year I had, back before the school split, parking was a huge problem, right? And so one group just decided that they were going to, I think they were going to make, oh shoot, I started that story without being able to finish it. I think they were going to make all sophomores do something crazy. What was it? Like sophomores couldn't drive cars, but I think they were making sophomores, that's right, they were going to make sophomores perform a ballet service. So that you would pull up and the sophomores would, for their driving practice, take your car and park it somewhere and then have to walk to school. So they came up with a solution that obviously wouldn't work, but was supposed to point to the fact that parking was indeed a problem. Such a problem that a student would be inspired to like go to these lengths, right, to solve it. So it doesn't need to be like a fully formed thing. We're just going to spend 15 minutes on this and then I'll have you turn it in. So you can just kind of have bullet points for how it's going to work. Okay, will you let me know in the chat box if you heard and that makes sense?